Hello. So, this is chat number 4 of what has become a series. What does nature mean to you? So, last night we had the lovely James Canton, who's the author of the Oak Papers. And if you missed the conversation, you can just hop onto my Instagram feed and catch up with it there, where also you'll find the other two chats from last week as well with Alison Harris and Mark Oughton. And I've been really enjoying it, but it's been really nice to hear back from you when you've been watching. There's been some lovely feedback, lovely comments, and for me personally, just listening to all these different stories and being inspired about connecting to nature. So tonight I have James Mace, who is the founder, I think I've got that right, of Walk and Talk for Men, which is based in Essex in Chelmsford. So I'm going to wait for him to join any minute now and invite him in. But while I'm waiting for him to join, let me tell you about the rest of the week. So tomorrow we've got Ellen from Nature is a Human Right organisation. So that'd be really interesting to hear her. She actually joined me on a forest bathing session a while ago. So yeah, it'd be great to hear her thoughts. And then we've got James Roast on Thursday, Charlotte, who's a well-being coach, practitioner, on Friday. But I can just see, see, I was ad-libbing. James Mace has joined the conversation. Hi, James. I think how this works, if you can see next to your little name, you should be able to request to join. So if you can press that, I should be able to get you into the conversation. Let's have a look. Here. Waiting. And James Mace. Hello.
Hi Ruth,
Hello.
how are you doing?
Well, I'm all right, thank you. How are you?
Good, good. There was a bit of a delay first of all, but I think now I'm live, it's going well.
Yeah, so far all the chats have gone really smoothly, so
Yeah.
it seems to work, but we'll see how we go.
Are you
Thanks so
enjoying
much for
it? Are you enjoying
joining.
it? You seem to be.
I really am. I didn't really think it through before I started doing it, and it's suddenly been this absolute pleasure just to sit and listen to people and be inspired and reminded um, of the power of nature, really. And there's just been so many lovely comments and lovely feedback as well. So yeah, I feel really lucky, really, to have people like yourself come and join me. So yeah.
Well, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. And what I've seen so far, I've really enjoyed. So hopefully we'll enjoy this one.
I'm sure we will. I mean, and maybe a good place to start is to ask you to introduce yourself and what you do.
Yes, of course. I'm James Mace. Firstly, I'm a barber by trade. I work in Benfleet in Essex. Secondly, I am a Movember ambassador. Movember are the world's leading men's health charity. And thirdly, how you know me, I am the founder of a mental health support group called Walk and Talk for Men, which I'm wearing the clobber today, as you can see. That's
And although
in a nutshell.
brilliant nutshell. Although I've kind of said that obviously there's a couple of questions that I've been asking everyone, perhaps before we even get to those, maybe you could just give us a brief overview of what Walk and Talk for Men is, and I'm sure more will come up as we chat further. But
Yeah, of course. It is a support group, first and foremost, for men and their mental health. What we do, we get together a couple of times a month. We choose a location, such as a country park somewhere in Essex. We all meet up and we go for a walk around the country park, breathing in the fresh air, getting the sights, getting a little bit of exercise, getting back to nature. But mostly it's a platform for men to be able to open up and talk, which we're not very good at. Unfortunately, the suicide rates for men are horrendous. I think it's 75% of all suicides are men. So yeah, it's something I put together a couple of years back, and so far so good. It seems to be helping a lot of people.
Thank you. When we get to the end of the chat, before we go, I'll get you to share details of how people can find your group and how they can join.
Okay, lovely.
But perhaps we can start with the very first question of what is your earliest memory of connecting to nature in some way?
Okay, well, the first question is a fantastic question, because it's something I've never been asked in my entire life. So I've been excited all day to answer this. So excited. In fact, I went out today for 3 hours. I was in nature, just me and nature today, which was fantastic. That's how excited I was to do this. But my earliest memory, as a child, I don't really remember the exact age. As a child, my parents used to take me to this place. My dad always called it Danbury Lakes, but it's actually officially called Danbury Country Park. I don't know how well you know Essex, but it's just a little bit. Yeah, it's just outside of Chelmsford, and it's such a fantastic place. We used to go there as a family, go for walks in amongst all the trees and climbing up and down the trees, go squirrel spotting and looking at the fish in the lakes and feeding the ducks, that sort of thing. As much as I'd attempt to climb the trees, I wasn't very good at it at all. But I remember, it's a memory in my head actually. There was this giant tree that had fallen, and it was basically lying like horizontal in the forest, slightly at an angle. And it was one that you could actually get on top of and climb up. It was huge. It was so wide. And I remember always climbing up there and wanting to jump off. And I mean, it was only the highest point was probably about 4 or 5 foot, but I'd get braver and braver. And as I go up, I'd need my mum and my dad to hold my hand. But yeah, that's like a very cherished memory that I've got. And that's where I went today. I went to Danbury today. And that tree is still there. Like 30 years on, it's still there. I was there taking photos of it today, and it was great to sort of go back and see it and then sort of relive those memories a little bit. Yeah, and I mean that seems to be my earliest memory. I can't really seem to think of anything apart from that. When you asked me that question, I thought that just sprung to mind straight away because it's such a beautiful place to go as a family. And lots of people still go as a family and taking the dogs there and things like that. So I've sort of moved back to that particular area. So I'm quite lucky that it's only about 10 minutes away from where I'm living. So I visit quite often.
Oh, lovely. Thank you. Yeah, I've been to Danbury Country Park a couple of times and did actually guide a forest bathing session there last year with
Okay.
Essex County Council, but I would love to now find out what tree that was, and that's incredible. It's still there.
I won't tell you where it is. You have to go and find it.
I like that.
If you have to go and explore.
That's the way.
It is the way.
Well,
That's what I did today. It was lovely. I just exploring off the beaten track kind of thing, and in amongst the trees, and it was great. I really enjoyed it today.
Well, I suppose that beautifully leads to the next question then of what does nature mean to you? And I normally add on the end of what does nature mean to you and how has that changed this year?
Yeah.
If it has at all, really.
Okay. Well, I didn't realise how much nature meant to me and how important nature was to me, until maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I didn't realise how much it would affect my mood and my mentality, and reduce stress. It's almost as if the calmness of nature, being in nature, just sort of washes all of the stress and pressures away from the real world, from real life kind of thing. And for me, especially during lockdown number one, it was very, very important to get out every day, whether that be just taking the dog out for half an hour, whether that be going for a nice walk for an hour or two, or even a jog. I'm very lucky where I am, to get out in nature and get out into wooded areas and sort of farmers fields. And like I say, it's mainly the calmness. It's mainly the calmness for me, and it sort of just almost grounds me a little bit and levels me out. Being out in nature and deep breaths, just experiencing that calmness, that, you know, no cars driving past, for example. There's no buildings. There's just the sound of you walking and the sounds of the birds chirping, or whatever it is that you're near. So as regards to the change, like I say, I can only speak for me personally. The change is that it's been pretty much more important than anything to be able to get out. I'm lucky enough to have a garden, but those that haven't, and have had to get out during lockdown, I should imagine that would be the saving grace for them and their family, just getting out, giving them that chance to breathe and think, right, let's just escape for an hour and get out in it. And but yeah, for me, it's been massively important. And now going into lockdown part two, I finished work just last week, and I've made the effort to try and get out every day, just for a nice walk, and it completely changes my mood. It lifts my mood. Like I say, I just almost feel grounded just to get out in it and forget what's going on in the world, forget the pandemic, forget employment worries and all that kind of thing, and just to be in it and appreciate what we have. And if it's not on your doorstep, then 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be that much of a drive or a commute to get there, you know. My favourite thing to do, and it was something that I was doing today, was just kind of forgetting the real, like I say, forgetting the real world and just imagining living in it, living out in the woods, for example, and how they used to survive all them years ago, the hunter-gatherers and the foragers. And I was just kind of just sitting there and imagining what that location where I was today was like all them years ago, and how it would be to be born into nature, born in the wild, and then to survive and bring up a family and live in that. And that was quite nice, with my imagination sort of running away from me today. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. Sorry, I'm babbling on now. I'm losing track. Was that okay?
No, babble away. That's the idea. I like it. It's you babbling and not me. But it's funny when you say about imagining what it was like to be living that life that human beings used to do. It's something that definitely comes up on the sessions when I'm guiding a forest bathing session, and kind of talking about, you know, in the scale of evolution of human beings, it's only a really tiny portion that we're now in our concrete boxes, and actually most of that evolution, we were out there in some form or another, and or a lot more connected to it, and that's kind of what we were designed to be doing and existing in, rather than perhaps the more disconnected now. But I wonder
so true.
if I could ask you a question I didn't tell you I'd ask you.
Okay, curveball.
I mean, talking about what nature means to you and your experience, with the group, the men's support group, it's walking and talking outside in nature, and I wonder what you think nature does for that, or what difference that makes versus perhaps a men's circle sat inside a room, on chairs facing each other and talking, walking out and in nature. What do you think that means to your group and to people's space?
Do you know what, Ruth? I think it's a wonderful, beautiful distraction. So all these people, myself included, that are kind of meeting up with strangers, not really knowing what to expect, normally carrying heavy burdens or mental blocks that they can't describe what's going on inside, and then they've plucked up the courage to go and meet other like-minded people to talk about what's bothering them. They're worried about being judged, they're worried about being ridiculed, all that sort of thing. And like I say, it's a wonderful distraction, because as opposed to other groups, which I'm not taking anything away from groups and circles and things like that, they can seem to be a little bit intense for me personally. If I was to go to a men's circle and it was sort of sat down in a room on chairs facing each other, my anxiety levels would be through the roof. It would be something that wouldn't sit well with me. I wouldn't feel comfortable. Whereas when you're out in nature, you've got this wonderful distraction, almost as though, although you're talking to someone, you're talking to that person next to you, you're not staring each other in the eyes. There's not that pressure there that you're having to really focus on what you want to say, because you're walking around and you're like, wow, that tree over there is really beautiful, and these smells what I'm getting are really beautiful and wonderful, and oh look, there's a squirrel, and we're by a river, or there's just something about it. It's just a wonderful distraction.
Actually, I just read a comment. I'm not always good at reading the comments as we speak because I'm too busy listening.
Yeah.
But Mike Thomas, coach, hello Mike, said, oh, it's just scrolled up, let me find it. Beautiful distractions can change negative patterns, which again then is, I think if I take that right from Mike, is again, as you say, it's a distraction, but also perhaps starting to help change our brain operating a little bit in that moment.
Absolutely. Like you say, it's all in the moment, and it is changing that mentality, because if everything's negative and dark in your mind, in your life, in what's going on in the situation you might be in, and if you're constantly say for example stuck indoors, and all of a sudden things do become darker, and the curtains might not get opened as much as possible and as much as they should, and little things like that. It's making those little changes, and then all of a sudden it's realizing that life isn't so bad.
Yes, those little moments of beauty.
Yeah,
joy,
it really is, and especially when you're actually in it. You know, you're not just seeing it, you're hearing it, you're smelling it, you're actually in it, and it is a wonderful thing on the group. I remember the very first one that I put together. I've done it over in Braintree, in Notley Country Park, which is a nice little spot. And I was worried. I hadn't had any training. I just sort of spur of the moment put something up on social media, said this is what I'm doing. I'm arranging a country walk for men just to get together and have a chat. And I remember thinking, how am I going to get these guys to talk? How will I do that? And I sat there and racked my brains, and I thought, okay, let's give them some icebreakers, give them a few subjects to talk about, just in case they run out of things to say to each other. And I remember I got them all together. I think there was about 14, 15 guys, and I paired everyone up, put them in twos, and we sort of marched off on this route. And I remained sort of spare, so I could make sure everyone was sort of safe, was going in the right direction, and I can just sort of come in and out of the pairs' conversations and make sure everything was going okay. And no one really needed the icebreakers. It was a case of they were walking shoulder to shoulder with someone, and they were had this lovely distraction of the park and nature and being out in it, and all of a sudden they were slowly opening up about relationships, about breakdowns at work, about worries. I think one of them had worries with their child self-harming. Someone had lost an uncle to suicide, and all these very, very close personal stories just started coming out, and people started opening up. And like I say, that was the very first one I done, and I thought, wow, we're onto something here. I need to keep it going. I need to keep helping, just giving men that little nudge in the right direction, just to open up and talk and share and let them know that they're not alone. And being out in nature is so good for you. So good.
Well, that leads me on to the third question then of what would your advice be for people, particularly as we're in lockdown again and into winter. What pieces of advice might you share?
Well, I've kind of heard a lot about when we've been saying about this second lockdown. It's been looming for quite a while, hasn't it? And people saying how winter it will be worse and whatnot. But for me, there's no excuse, because winter can be just as beautiful, if not more beautiful, than spring or summer, when you're in the right place. And it's just a case of, digging the scarf out, digging the woolly hat and the gloves out, and getting out in it. And I was in Southwood and Ferries just the other day. I had a walk down the River Crouch there, and it was first thing in the morning. It was really misty, and there was swans on the river, and it was just so calm and peaceful. And my advice would be, just go for it, go out and experience it. And I think if I was talking to a younger me, I wouldn't have it. Me in my 20s, I'm not getting out into nature. I'd rather stay in bed all day. I watch telly or play PlayStation, for example. But it kind of takes the people around the younger generation, parents, brothers, family, that sort of thing. Make them do it. Get them out and watch their mood change. Just going for that walk, spending a bit of time as a family outside. We can still meet up with a friend at a safe social distance and just go outside and talk, or even just being on your own. Like I say, I was on my own for 3 hours today, put the phone on Do Not Disturb. I was just using it to take a few snaps, and it was absolutely lovely. I would strongly advise, take the headphones out. You don't need the music. You really don't. And a lot of people insist on music when they're running. Okay, running's different. You might need that to spur you on. But when you're out in it, take your time, enjoy it. Take the headphones out, stop looking down like you always do, stand up straight, look out, and just, it's amazing what you'll see just standing still and looking around. And the amount of squirrels I saw today, I'm a bit obsessed with squirrels. I don't know what it is. But every squirrel I saw today, I was just fascinated watching them move, watching them scratching around. And I'm on a mission to make friends with a squirrel. I'm going to go back to Danbury at some point and take some nuts or some vegetables. I'm going to Google what squirrels eat, and I'm going to make friends with a squirrel. Mark my words. Just because it is just a lovely thing. And another thing that I've got into, again, as I've got older and I'm becoming more, I'm kind of trying to think of the word. A word that I'd used to use would be hippified, a bit like hippie, but I'm becoming more grounded, getting to know my body, nature, breathing techniques, meditation, all these things. So when you put them all together, they come together really nice. And I wasn't just walking today. I was taking my time. It wasn't about getting out. It wasn't about racking up those miles and then those steps. It wasn't about that today. And again, some people can get lost in that. They've got the iPhone or the Fitbit, and it's like, right, okay, how many steps we can get in? And I literally saw people marching around, and I thought, you walk past me so fast. There's no way you've appreciated where you are. So just go out, put the phone away, take the headphones out, take a deep breath, breathe in that fresh air, slow your breathing down, feel the calmness come over you, and you will feel it. You may think I'm talking absolute rubbish right now, but you will feel it. You will feel calmer. It will reduce your stress levels, and you can really, really enjoy a country stroll and getting back to nature.
That's lovely advice. Thank you. It's funny when you listen, and it's the same when I guide some of my sessions. It feels so simple, really,
Yeah.
and yet so many of us don't do it. Not for any other reason than perhaps we're not used to doing it, or we're just too busy, or perceive ourselves to be too busy, or yes, the weather's not nice one day, so maybe you don't. And yet, as you say, that simple act of just going out and just taking a bit of a moment, really, and just being
Yeah.
still and working through the senses and just noticing that little bit more, what a powerful difference that can be. And you're right, often that can sound quite hippie or woo-woo,
Yeah.
and actually James Canton, who I was speaking to last night, the author, in his book, he talks about that, even that perception of becoming a tree hugger and the connotations that may come with that or not.
Absolutely.
And yet really, when it comes down to it, it's actually pretty much what we were designed to be doing. We were probably doing that most of our time, and then hunting food, tracking food, so smelling or sensing, and when the berries were right to eat, or what animal's been here, and using all of those senses. That's kind of what this human animal was designed to do, really, and probably where we're happiest or calmest, maybe.
Absolutely, 100%, couldn't agree more. And I think for a lot of people, it's just kind of letting that guard down as well, and just kind of just going for it, and educating yourself. Really, it's so easy to kind of judge other people, what people do, and people look at it and think, no, that's not for me, and it might not be for you, but give it a go. And like I say, it's something I would have had no interest in a few years back. If someone had said to me 5-10 years ago that I'd be out in a forest on my own, touching trees and talking to the trees, and sort of talking to the birds and the squirrels, like, I'd be like, really? I don't think so. That won't be me ever. But it was something I'd done, and I really, really enjoy it. Really enjoyed myself today. And from the moment I pulled up in the car park, and just where I parked, a little robin landed just on the fence right in front, directly in front of the car, and I was like, "Hello, little guy." Like, straight away, I'm talking to a bird. "Hello, little guy." And then he flew off, and he came back with a berry in his mouth, and he was eating his berry, and I was just like, "It's incredible." I'm in his home, and I'm so lucky to be able to watch him eat and be, and again sitting there watching the birds and the ducks, and it was incredible. And like I say, the squirrels have got me. I've never thought I had an interest in squirrels before, but they're very beautiful. And I see someone on the comments has written peanuts. I guess that's what they eat. So I'm going to get some peanuts. I'm going to go back and I'm going to make friends with the squirrels. That's for sure.
Well, actually, that reminds me. I was thinking when I was much, much younger, and I lived in London for a while. And up in London, some of the parks, I think the squirrels are particularly used to being fed peanuts by anyone and everyone. So I used to have great delight in just going sitting on the bench and having squirrels climbing all over me. And
wow,
it's great fun.
Wow.
I'm sure the squirrels were probably overfed, but
yeah, very true.
But sort of to begin to wrap up, can you let anyone who's watching know how they can get in touch with you, or join the group, or any advice really for men who would like to find out more?
Of course. Well, we have the website, which is walkandtalkformen.com. We also have the Instagram page, which I'm on now. We have Facebook and Twitter. You can also email us at Walk and Talk for Men. Walk and Talk for Men at gmail.com. There's information on all of those as regards to walk locations, walk times, any events that we do. We try and advertise them as much as possible. I'm very fortunate to have several volunteers that help me out, and they also host walks around the county. We've actually moved a bit further afield as well. I've got a friend in Birmingham, another one sort of Bolton way, another one in Brighton, and they've all sort of hosted walks, which is great. There's some beautiful areas there as well. And also we're always looking for more volunteers, because in an ideal world, there'd be 1 or 2 walks a week rather than a walk a month, you know. So I need as many volunteers as possible, and I'm always recruiting. I'm very thankful for anyone that gets in contact with me, and I can discuss it with them about hosting a walk in their area. That's not a problem. If you just want to come along, everyone's very friendly. There's no pressure. There's no judgment. It's literally a case of coming along, meeting. We're not shaking hands anymore, unfortunately. We've got to remain at a safe 2-metre distance and keep it all to the government guidelines and regulations until all this mess is sorted. But it is very safe. We make sure it's safe, and it's a great platform for you to be able to just open up and talk.
Lovely, thank you for sharing that. Anyone watching, I'll be posting this on my Instagram page, and I'll make sure there's a link to your Instagram as well, and I'll link you through to all those other bits. So
thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks for having me on. I've really enjoyed it.
Oh, it's been a pleasure listening. Thank you. At some point, we'll have to meet up in Danbury Country Park once I found the tree.
Once you found the tree, we'll meet for sure. 100%.
Deal.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, James.
No worries. Take care, Ruth. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Okay, I'm just going to loiter here for a couple more minutes. Well, not minutes, seconds maybe, just to say thank you again for watching. Thank you to everyone. If I've missed any comments, I'm sorry. I promised myself I would try and get better at that and keep an eye out for comments. Tomorrow 8:30 p.m. I will be joined by Ellen, who is from an organisation called Nature is a Human Right. So really looking forward to hearing from Ellen. And then later in the week, every night, I've got a talk, a chat, a conversation at 8:30 every evening, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and lots more lined up for next week and hopefully the rest of November. I'm talking to authors, artists, activists, athletes, wellbeing practitioners, conservationists, lots of other people. And if you have watched and you would like to hop on and have a conversation with me about what nature means to you, then by all means get in touch, send me a message, and I'm sure we can set up a time and date. All right, I'll say goodbye. Thank you again, everyone, for watching, and thanks to James from Walk and Talk for Men.